This is the Czech Republic, one of our neighboring countries, and as we can see on the map, a classic landlocked country. That means a country that is completely surrounded by other countries and has no direct access to the sea. A major problem in today's globalized world, where almost all important goods are transported by ship. But what if I told you that in reality, the Czech Republic does have access to the sea, and that's in Germany? Because this is part of the port of Hamburg, one of the most important transshipment hubs in Europe and essential for the German economy. However, what you see in this picture does not belong to the city of Hamburg, and not even to the Federal Republic of Germany. No, this is the so-called Vltava port, owned by the Czech Republic, which is over 500 kilometers away. So there is a piece of the Czech Republic right in the middle of Hamburg. Nearly 100 years ago, this port was granted to the Czech Republic, and it still wants to hold on to its sea access. But how did the port come into Czech ownership in the first place? And why is the city of Hamburg now trying everything to regain control of this port section? We will explore all these questions in today's video. Enjoy! The origins of today's Vltava port date back to the late 19th century. At that time, it was established as a regular section of the large port of Hamburg in the Woltershof district. It quickly developed into one of the most important terminals for importing coal and ore. Both raw materials were of crucial importance for Hamburg's emerging industry. And during the First World War, it was also expected to play a strategic role in the war economy. But the time when it was owned by the city of Hamburg would soon come to an end, because the Treaty of Versailles stipulated that, following its defeat, the German Reich had to provide the newly formed Czechoslovakia with duty-free access to the sea. And for Czechoslovakia, it was clear that they wanted a part of the port of Hamburg. After all, the Elbe River played an essential role in supplying the country. When we look at it on the map, we can see that it originates in the east of the Czech Republic, near the border with Poland, then flows through Germany, eventually emptying into the North Sea in Hamburg. And so, starting in 1922, negotiations began over which specific properties the Czechs would receive in the port of Hamburg. Initially, the Hanseatic city offered the eastern part of the Spreehaven, but the Czechs were not satisfied with this. As a result, the negotiations dragged on for several more years until a final agreement was signed by both parties in November 1929. In that agreement, Czechoslovakia was granted the waterfront properties at the Vltava and Sal ports for a total of 99 years, and thus an area of about 30,000 square meters became Czech territory, creating an international border right in the middle of Hamburg. The port immediately became one of the most important hubs for all of Czechoslovakia. Numerous cargo ships transported goods such as coffee, cocoa, and grain back to the homeland. The main exports were industrial goods. In the 1980s, the Czechoslovak Elbe Shipping Company, ČSPLO, had a fleet of more than 600 transport barges and inland vessels. Numerous jobs were created, especially for Germans, who found employment in the Vltava and Sale ports very attractive, as the Czechs paid them much better than their own citizens. One witness reported that they earned 8 to 10 times more. Culturally, the port also attracted many Germans. The harbour canteen was known for its excellent Bohemian cuisine, and the 750 milliliter bottles of Czech beer were famously called elephant syringes. In addition to the canteen, there was also a movie theatre, a game room, and a casino on the club ship in this small piece of the Czech Republic, right in the middle of Hamburg. And this agreement is still honoured to this day. In the meantime, the Czech Republic and Slovakia separated, but the Czech Republic retained access to the port as the legal successor. However, with the collapse of the Eastern Bloc, the golden era of the port came to an end. The state shipping company was privatized, and the ships were sold off. Gradually, everything was sold, and the distant port was no longer profitable, especially after the Czech Republic joined the EU, as there were essentially no borders anymore. ČSPLO went bankrupt, and from that point on, the use of the port declined sharply. The Czech government continues to talk about revitalizing the port, but so far, little has been done. The lease agreement still runs until November 2028, at which point the land will automatically revert to the city of Hamburg. However, there are repeated calls in the Czech Republic to extend the contract, while Hamburg would prefer to have the port back. Due to the lack of agreement between the Czech Republic and Hamburg, the port currently lies idle and is gradually falling into disrepair. It is most likely that Hamburg will let the contract expire in 2028 and regain control. However, the site is unsuitable for modern container ships. Therefore, the city of Hamburg plans to completely cease freight operations and redevelop the Vltava port and surrounding area as part of the new Grasbrook district, with mixed residential and commercial use. There are also plans for a subway station, Moldauhafen, on the U4 line, spanning the harbour basin from north to south.